Okay, so you want to own a five-star hotel. Picture it for a second. A grand lobby with marble floors, a doorman in white gloves, guests pulling up in black cars, celebrities checking into suites that cost more per night than most people pay in rent for a month. And somewhere behind all of that, money flowing in around the clock. That is the dream. That is what people imagine when they think about owning a luxury hotel. Here is what actually happens. Some five-star hotels bring in over $500 million a year in revenue. And some five-star hotels, ones that charge over $1,000 a night, lose millions of dollars every single year. The same category of property, the same gold leaf ceilings, the same butlers, completely opposite financial outcomes. Today we are going inside the real economics of owning one of the most glamorous and most misunderstood businesses in the world. Before we talk about money, you need to understand what you are actually buying when you buy into this world. Most people assume five-star means five-star decoration. Fancy curtains, expensive sheets, a spa with candles. That is not how it works. The Forbes Travel Guide, one of the main rating systems used across the United States and internationally, evaluates hotels on up to 900 different standards. And here is the part that surprises almost everyone. 75% of that score has nothing to do with the building. It is about service, how fast the front desk moves, whether staff anticipate what a guest needs before they ask, how quickly room service arrives and how it is presented, whether the person who picks up the phone sounds like they genuinely want to help you. The physical building only accounts for 25% of the rating. What that means in practice is that luxury is not a state. It is an ongoing performance. It never stops. At 2 in the morning, when 90% of the rooms are empty and the lobby is quiet, the standard does not go down. The staff-to-guest ratio in a five-star property runs between 1.5 and 3 employees for every single room. Compare that to a budget hotel, which gets by on roughly 0.5 employees per room. That is not a small difference. That is a completely different cost structure. And understanding that cost structure is the only way to understand why this business is so hard. Let us start at the very beginning, before a single guest ever walks through the door, according to the HVS Hotel Development Cost Survey. One of the most widely cited benchmarks in the industry, the median development cost for a luxury hotel in the United States runs over $1 million per room. In major gateway cities like New York, London, or San Francisco, that number regularly crosses $2 million per room. So if you are building a 200-room luxury hotel in Manhattan, you are looking at a development cost somewhere between $200 million and $400 million before you have checked in a single guest. And that cost breaks down in ways most people would not expect. Land alone can absorb 10% of the total budget, sometimes more in dense urban markets. Hard construction costs, the actual steel and concrete and mechanical systems, eat up roughly 68%. Then there is furniture, fixtures and equipment, the beds, the chandeliers, the kitchen equipment, the spa fittings, which adds another 11%. Then design and architectural fees, pre-opening expenses, and a contingency reserve to cover the inevitable cost overruns that happen on every major construction project. Now think about how that gets financed. Most developers are not writing a check for $400 million out of pocket. They are borrowing most of it. And in a high interest rate environment, which is what the United States has been living through over the past several years, the cost of that borrowed money runs between 6 and 8% per year. On a $200 million loan, that is $12 to $16 million in interest payments every single year. Before you have made a dollar, before you have hired a single housekeeper, before you have turned on a single light, that is the weight you are carrying from day one. Here is something that sounds obvious until you actually think through the numbers. The same hotel building, same design, same room count, same service standards, can be worth completely different amounts depending entirely on where it sits. A five-star hotel in Midtown Manhattan can charge an average daily rate of $400 or higher. A five-star hotel in a secondary market with lower demand might charge $250 for the exact same room experience. That gap in daily rate is not a minor detail. It is the difference between a business that works and a business that does not. In the United States alone, construction costs vary massively by city. In New York, building a hotel costs around $335 per square foot in construction expenses alone. In Chicago, it is around $308. The national average sits closer to $260 per square foot. So developers in gateway cities pay a premium to build and then need to charge premium rates just to recover those costs. And there is a rule of thumb that real estate professionals in this industry actually use. For every $1,000 spent on development cost per room, the hotel needs to earn $1 in average daily rate at a stable occupancy of 65%. So if you spent $1 million per room to build your hotel, you need to be charging $1,000 per night, consistently, not just on weekends in peak season, but on a stabilized annual average, to have a prayer of covering your costs. The average daily rate for luxury hotels in major American markets sits around $394, which means that a hotel built at full modern luxury cost, $1 million per room, is structurally challenged from the day it opens. This is why almost every major luxury hotel development built in the last 20 years has not just been a hotel. It has been a mixed-use project that includes luxury residential condominiums or private membership clubs attached to the same building. Developers sell those condos before the hotel even opens, using that cash to pay down debt and make the hotel portion financially viable. The hotel, in other words, is sometimes built on the back of the real estate sales next door. Here is where most people's mental model completely falls apart. When you think of the Four Seasons, or the Ritz-Carlton, or the Waldorf Astoria, you probably imagine those brands owning the buildings their hotels operate in. Most of the time, they do not. Marriott International, which operates Ritz-Carlton, St. Regis, and BVL Gari hotels, does not own most of the properties it runs. Neither does Hilton, which operates the Waldorf Astoria brand. Neither does Hyatt with Park Hyatt. These brands are operators, not landlords. The actual buildings are typically owned by a completely different set of entities. Sovereign wealth funds from Qatar, Singapore, or Saudi Arabia buying trophy real estate as long-term wealth stores. Real estate investment trusts, known as REITs, which pool investor money to own portfolios of hotels. Private equity funds looking to buy a hotel, improve it, and sell it within 5 to 7 years. Pension funds and insurance companies looking for stable long-term returns. Wealthy family offices preserving multi-generational wealth. These owners then sign a contract with a brand called a hotel management agreement that hands day-to-day operations over to the brand in exchange for fees. The owner keeps the building. The brand runs the hotel. This management agreement is where things get very specific and very important. The brand does not just take a flat fee. There are multiple layers of payment, and every one of them comes out of the owner's revenue. First, there is the base management fee. The brand takes between 2 and 4% of all gross operating revenue, total money coming in, every single year, regardless of whether the hotel is profitable. That fee is paid whether the hotel made money or lost money. Then there is the royalty or license fee, the cost of using the brand name itself. That runs another 3 to 5% of gross rooms revenue. Then a marketing contribution, which funds the brand's global advertising campaigns and reservation systems, adds another 1 to 4%. Then loyalty program assessments, the cost of participating in the brand's rewards program, which can bring in guests but also comes with a price tag of roughly 2 to 6% of revenue generated through loyalty bookings. Add it up, and before you have paid a single employee, before you have bought a single bar of soap, the brand is taking somewhere between 10 and 15% of your revenue in fees and assessments. There is also an incentive management fee, which is a percentage of operating profit that the brand collects once the hotel reaches a certain level of profitability. This one is supposed to align the brand's interest with the owner's interests. In practice, it is one of the most heavily negotiated parts of any hotel management agreement because the definitions of what counts as profit for the purposes of calculating that fee can make an enormous difference. Now let us talk about the single largest cost on the operating side: payroll, people labor. A 5-star hotel is not a building with a nice lobby. It is a live, around-the-clock service operation staffed by hundreds of specialized workers. Housekeeping, front desk, concierge, security, engineering and maintenance, chefs, sous chef, pastry chefs, room service runners, spa therapists, groundskeepers, sales managers, revenue managers. The list goes on. For a luxury property, payroll typically runs between 32 and 38% of total revenue. That is the single largest line item in the entire budget. Here is a concrete example of how this adds up in just one department. Take housekeeping. A 200-room luxury hotel running at 80% occupancy has 160 rooms to clean each day. In a 5-star environment, the brand standard for cleaning one guest room thoroughly, the kind of cleaning that leaves everything perfectly folded and positioned, is about 45 minutes per room. An 8-hour shift gives a room attendant 480 minutes to work. Divide that into 160 rooms, and you need 15 room attendants working every single day just to clean the rooms. But 15 bodies per day does not mean 15 employees. People have days off. People get sick. People take vacations. To maintain 15 working attendants every single day of the year, you actually need closer to 21 full-time employees in the housekeeping department just for room cleaning. Then you need supervisors, one for every 8 to 12 attendants. Then a head housekeeper, then linen runners, then laundry staff. And that is one department in one hotel. When you replicate that model across every department in the building, payroll becomes a massive, mostly fixed expense that does not go down when occupancy dips. A hotel room is not like a television sitting in a warehouse. If the television does not sell today, it can sell tomorrow. If a hotel room goes unoccupied tonight, that revenue is gone forever. You cannot sell Tuesday night's room on Wednesday. This is the fundamental economic reality that drives everything in hotel management. The product expires every single night at midnight, which means that a luxury hotel operating at 60% occupancy is not just leaving 40% of its rooms empty. It is permanently destroying the revenue that those rooms could have generated. Forever, this perishability is why sophisticated hotels do not set a single room rate and hold it. They use dynamic pricing systems that adjust rates continuously based on dozens of inputs, upcoming flights into the city, local events, conferences, weather forecasts, what competitors are charging, how fast the hotel's own occupancy is filling relative to historical patterns. The same room in a major American city hotel might cost $300 on a quiet Tuesday in February. That same room might cost $700 on a Thursday before a major trade conference. And on New Year's Eve or during a major sporting event, it might go to $1,500 or higher. This is not random. It is a continuous mathematical optimization running in real time, trying to squeeze the maximum possible revenue out of every single night before that night expires. Here is something that surprises most people who think about the hotel business. The rooms are not the most interesting part of the income statement. Yes, room revenue has the highest profit margin, somewhere between 80 and 85 cents of profit on every dollar earned from a room night. But the rooms department has a ceiling. There are only so many rooms, and every competitor in the market is chasing the same guests for those rooms. The businesses that truly separate profitable luxury hotels from marginal ones are the revenue streams that most guests barely think about: banquets and weddings. One luxury wedding weekend, venue rental, custom catering, bar packages, floral arrangements coordinated through hotel vendors, room blocks for out-of-town guests, can generate several $100,000 from a single event. Because the wedding is booked months in advance on a contract, the hotel knows exactly how much food to buy, exactly how many staff to schedule, and exactly how much revenue is coming. It is the opposite of the uncertainty that comes with managing room occupancy. To protect that revenue, hotel banquet contracts include very specific protections. 30 days before the event, the client provides a preliminary head count. 10 days out, they lock in a guaranteed guest count with a small allowance for reduction. 72 hours before the event, the final head count is fixed. If the guest count drops after that point, the hotel still bills at up to 80% of the contracted per-person value. The kitchen does not absorb last-minute cancellations. Corporate meetings and conferences are even more valuable. Companies sending teams to a multi-day conference are paying for ballroom space, breakout rooms, audio-visual setup, catered lunches, coffee breaks, and room blocks for attendees. Because company travel budgets fund the bills rather than individual wallets, corporate groups are far less price-sensitive than leisure travelers. A well-positioned luxury hotel in a city with strong corporate demand can generate 20 to 30% of its total revenue from corporate meeting business alone, and that revenue tends to arrive reliably, midweek, exactly when leisure travel is weakest. Spa operations add another layer. 40-cent margins on every dollar of spa revenue, combined with local memberships that bring in non-guest clientele, add meaningful profit and help justify the hotel's premium positioning in the market. Let us talk about the most expensive room in the building. In major American and international luxury hotels, the presidential suite, sometimes occupying a full floor, sometimes running over 2,000 square feet, can be listed at $10,000, $20,000, even $50,000 per night in the most extreme cases. And here is the honest economic truth about that room. It is not really there to make money from room nights. The presidential suite is there to anchor the hotel's reputation. The photographs of that suite appear in every media story ever written about the property. The celebrities and dignitaries who stay in it generate headlines that no advertising budget could buy. When a major political figure checks in for a state visit, or a film star is photographed arriving at the hotel, the resulting media coverage functions as marketing that reaches millions of people who will never themselves spend $50,000 on a room. But some of those millions of people will book a standard room for $350. And the fact that they are staying in the same building where that celebrity stayed, even on a different floor, is part of what they are paying for. The presidential suite also serves a security function. Its private elevator access, reinforced entry points, and dedicated service corridors are specifically designed to accommodate heads of state, royal families, and ultra-high net worth guests whose security requirements make standard floor access impossible. Rarely occupied in the traditional sense, the suite exists primarily as a brand weapon. There is a cost that people almost never think about when they romanticize hotel ownership, and it is enormous: energy. A luxury hotel with between 150 and 300 rooms, a full spa, multiple restaurants, laundry facilities, heated pools, and around-the-clock air conditioning consumes between 80,000 and 170,000 kilowatt hours of electricity every single month. That does not count natural gas for heating and commercial kitchen operations. Heating and hot water alone account for 35 to 55% of the hotel's total energy consumption. Because guests take long showers, pools need to stay warm year-round, and spa facilities require sustained heat. Air conditioning across a large building adds another 10 to 25%. Commercial laundry and a luxury hotel washes thousands of towels, robes, and sheets every single day. Takes up another 10 to 20%. In practice, the energy cost per occupied room night for a luxury spa hotel in the United Kingdom runs between 65 and 110 British pounds. In the United States, comparable luxury properties face similar cost pressures relative to their market electricity and gas rates. For a hotel with high fixed energy loads, a drop in occupancy does not produce a proportional drop in energy costs. The pool still needs to be heated, the lobby still needs to be lit, the building management systems still run around the clock. This is why sophisticated hotel owners invest heavily in smart building technology. Sensors that automatically adjust room temperature when a room is unoccupied, LED retrofit programs, high-efficiency commercial laundry systems. Not as a green marketing exercise, but because the payback period on energy efficiency upgrades is often measured in months, not years. Five-star hotels have what financial professionals call high operating leverage. That phrase sounds technical, but the concept is straightforward. Your costs are mostly fixed. Your revenue is not, payroll does not drop because fewer people checked in this week. Debt service does not go away because there was a pandemic. Energy bills do not shrink because corporate travel budgets were cut. Insurance premiums, property taxes, brand fees, all of it keeps running whether the hotel is at 30% occupancy or 90% occupancy. So when revenue drops, it does not just shrink profit proportionally, it collapses it. During the pandemic, luxury hotels across New York, London, and Paris saw occupancy fall to single digits for extended periods. Properties that carried heavy debt loads, which, as we established, is almost every major luxury hotel that was built in the past 20 years. Found themselves paying interest on hundreds of millions of dollars of borrowed money while generating almost no revenue at all. This is not a hypothetical risk. It is a structural feature of the business. Recessions, geopolitical crises, pandemics, major terrorist incidents in gateway cities. Any one of these events can cut luxury travel demand rapidly and severely. And because luxury travelers are by definition spending discretionary money rather than necessity money, they are the first to cancel when conditions get uncertain. The hotels most exposed in downturns are the ones that opened recently, carry the most debt, and have not yet built up the loyal repeat guest base that provides some baseline of demand, even in difficult periods. Here is something that genuinely surprises most people. Some five-star hotels are not primarily built to generate operating profit. They are built to serve a different economic purpose entirely. Sovereign wealth funds and governments sometimes build luxury hotels to create international prestige and attract foreign direct investment into a region. The hotel is infrastructure for economic development, not a standalone yield-generating asset. Whether it makes a profit in any given year is a secondary concern. Developers sometimes build a luxury hotel in a large mixed-use project specifically to raise the property values of everything else in the development. The presence of a Ritz-Carlton or a Four Seasons on the ground floor of a new high-rise district justifies charging premium prices for the residential towers, commercial office space, and retail units next door. The hotel loses money on operations, but the developer more than compensates through higher sales prices on the surrounding real estate. Integrated casino resorts take this even further. In Las Vegas, Macau, and Singapore, major luxury hotels exist primarily as amenities to attract and retain high-value casino customers. The hotel rooms, the fine dining, the spa, they are subsidized tools for keeping high rollers in the building. The gaming floors generate the real money, and the hotel keeps the customers close. Losing money on hotel operations is, in that model, a reasonable cost of running a more profitable casino. If you ask most people how a hotel investor makes money, they will say, from room bookings. And that is part of the picture. But it is only part. Experienced investors in this asset class use the hotel itself as a vehicle for multiple simultaneous financial strategies. One of the most powerful is a technique called cost segregation. Under standard tax rules, A commercial real estate building is depreciated over 39 years. But a hotel contains thousands of components that wear out and need replacing in far shorter time frames. Guest room furniture, custom cabinetry, specialty lighting, carpet, and in-room electronics might need full replacement every 5 to 7 years. A cost segregation study, an engineering-based tax analysis, reclassifies these components into 5-year, 7-year, or 15-year depreciation schedules. The result is that the owner can take far larger tax deductions in the early years of ownership, substantially reducing taxable income and freeing up cash. Under Internal Revenue Code Section 168, the reclassified components can qualify for first-year bonus depreciation, allowing the full cost to be written off immediately rather than spread over years. Then there is refinancing. As a hotel stabilizes, builds up occupancy, establishes its revenue track record, pays down some initial debt, it becomes a lower-risk asset in the eyes of lenders. Owners can refinance the original high-cost construction debt into lower-cost long-term commercial mortgages, reducing their annual interest expense and freeing up cash flow. And those refinancings can often be structured to pull out equity and cash, giving the investor a tax-advantaged return of capital without having to sell the property. Finally, over time, a well-located luxury hotel in a major market appreciates in value. The land appreciates. The brand value associated with the property grows. The operational cash flow, once stabilized, becomes an attractive income stream for future buyers. An investor who bought a hotel, operated it for 15 years while collecting depreciation benefits and refinancing proceeds, and then sells it in an upmarket cycle can achieve returns that look nothing like the operating margins in any given year. Let us put some real numbers around what this actually looks like. Imagine a 200-room 5-star hotel in a major American city, say Chicago. Development cost is approximately $200 million. You have borrowed $140 million at 7% interest. That is $9.8 million in annual debt service before you have done anything else. On a strong year, the hotel runs at 75% occupancy with an average daily rate of $450. That is about $24 million in rooms revenue. Food and beverage, events, spa, and other ancillary revenue adds another $8 million. Total gross revenue, $32 million. From that, payroll takes roughly $11 million. Energy and utilities take $2 million. Brand fees, base management, royalty, marketing, loyalty take another $3.5 million. Insurance, property taxes, and general operating expenses add $4 million more. You set aside $1.6 million into the FF&E reserve, that escrow account required under your management agreement to fund future furniture and fixture replacements. Operating income before debt service, roughly $9.9 million. Then the debt comes due. $9.8 million in annual interest payments. Net cash in a strong year. Approximately $100,000 on a $200 million investment. Now run the numbers in a weak year. Occupancy drops to 55%. Average daily rate softens to $375. Gross revenue falls to roughly $22 million. Costs do not fall proportionally because most of them are fixed. You end up with a net operating loss of several $1 million, and a loan that still requires its full interest payment regardless. The difference between those two scenarios is what the business actually is. Not a cash machine. A high-stakes, highly leveraged bet on consistent demand, sustained pricing power, and the absence of the kind of disruptions, pandemics, recessions, geopolitical crises, that history has shown up every decade or so. The owners who survive long-term are not the ones who are best at running hotels. They are the ones who structured their capital correctly from day one, who diversified across multiple properties, who used the tax advantages and the refinancing mechanics to generate returns that the operating income alone never could have delivered. And behind every perfectly made bed, every white-gloved doorman, every chandelier blazing in an empty lobby at 2 in the morning, that is the machine that is actually running.